The review, Magic Round, Round 9. Kevin Walters and Ben Dobbin with you. And we're both a bit dusty, I've got to be honest with you. It's the Monday after a huge weekend. Your Magic Round experience. You worked very hard, I will say that. Hats off, every day.
Oh, I didn't work Thursday night, but that wasn't really the women's state of origin.
That wasn't Magic Round,
That wasn't part of the Magic Round circus. But, yeah, it was I've worked there before as, in the media. It's a terrific weekend, Dobbo.
Yeah.
I mean, even from a working point of view, I don't live far from Suncorp, so you just roll down the road and you're at work. And away you go. It's a great concept, isn't it, from the NRL? They stole it from the UK, from the Super League.
Yeah.
But it's been a huge success here. And a lot of that is due to the Suncorp Stadium precinct. You got Caxton Street, all that.
It's huge.
The bars there and the restaurants.
I had a beer at the Caxton, Ross Farquhar. I had a beer on Saturday. I had some friends up from Sydney.
You snuck a little sneaky couple of beers?
I had one beer on Saturday, but Ross Farquhar, there was a queue outside the Caxton to get in. Ross said, go in. I went in there, had a beer.
What time was this?
Midday.
There's a queue at midday?
Mate, first game was at 3. There was a queue to get into the Caxton at midday. It was heaving. But what I like to me, Kev, there's no fights. There's no carry on. Everybody's happy.
They're happy,
They're
mate.
always in their team jerseys. Everybody's there.
Yeah.
Like there was even Manly fans there who wore Manly jerseys. They had to buy. They weren't even play. They weren't even playing.
Yeah. What was your highlight, mate?
My highlight was Canberra. It was the last game.
Right.
My highlight was Canberra, and I'll talk about that. What was yours?
Yeah, I love what the Raiders did as well. Look, there were so many. That try that
Kyle Weeks.
That he scored.
Unbelievable.
And the one that Farlongo, when he
Back
kicked
to Pappenhausen.
In the same. That was the match of the round. Of the
without
weekend.
doubt.
We thought it was always going to be 2 versus 3. Was
See, the Cowboys-Warriors game was a very good game as well. A really good high standard game.
Really rammed it up.
They really were they're good. It's interesting, and I say this, I had 2 police officers on Friday night in the lift going up to the commentary box. I said, any dramas tonight? They said, no, tomorrow's D-Day. I said, why? He said, because we get the best and worst from the Wars fans. The happiest, he said, we just hope they win. If they don't win, it can get ugly quickly. Hey, listen, let's go through the round and we'll talk about it. Sharkies 28, Eels 18. They started the first game, and then the Roosters 36 points to 26 over the Dolphins. Knights, too good for the Rabbitohs, 30 points to 4. We talked about that. The Warriors over the Cowboys, 30 points to 26. West Tigers beat the Dragons. Jaden Seward dropping a ball before half-time changed the course of the game, 34 points to 28. The Titans were absolutely outclassed by the Dogs, 38 points to 18. So were the Broncos, flogged by Penrith, 32 points to 8. And then, as we just said, 20 points to 18, Golden Point, Canberra over the Storm. The ladder, as we speak, and we will get into it, Bulldogs leading on 16 points, Raiders second, Warriors third, Storm fourth, Broncos fifth, Sharks sixth, Seagulls seventh who had the bye, and the West Tigers, lo and behold, with 5 wins, are eighth.
Are in the 8, eh?
Are in the 8. Okay, I'm going to talk.
Let's go Friday night first.
Friday night.
Quickly, Sharks and the Eels. One of the question marks we had was about the Sharks and whether they are the real deal. I think we saw enough from them. I know it was only the Eels, but I think we saw enough from them to suggest that they're going to be
they're getting
a bit of
better.
A force. Trindle and Hines people have been criticising them for their input in games. I thought they were really good, on Friday night. Against the Eels. The Eels, they tried hard as well. Mitchell Moses has made a huge difference to them. So they'll be a better team over the next 20 weeks or so, or 20, whatever we got left in the season. Can they make the 8? I think it's going to be difficult for them. Their start to the year was tough without Moses, and sure, he's made an impression, but can he make a big enough impression to get them into the 8? Oh, I don't
Well, he's
think
got to
so.
go. He's going to be the 5'8" for Origin, for New South Wales.
I think he'll go with Luai. Laurie?
I don't reckon. I reckon it's my mail is, and I might be wrong here, it's Cleary and Moses in the halves.
Right.
That's what I'm hearing.
Well, he's got options, hasn't he?
Yeah. But, so if he does that, they're in real trouble if he's out. But I think Parramatta, I don't think they can make the 8. I know, Kevy, you don't want to put a line through anybody after 10 weeks, but to me, it doesn't seem like they can make the 8.
No, they've got to win a lot of games, and whether they can do that or not is questionable.
The Dolphins, they got beaten by the Roosters. This game had an enormous amount to it, but the score wasn't really reflective, if I'm honest, of the whole game. The Roosters won 36 points to 26.
Pretty dominant display.
They were dominant, mate.
From the Roosters. And listening to the press conference after the game, their coach, Christian Wolf, was disappointed with their defence more than anything. He said they're not defending to their standards, which I got to agree with. There was a couple of soft tries in there from the Roosters, a couple of good tries as well, but a couple of soft tries that could be stopped. They're a team with some injury problems as well.
Time. No Max Plath. He's a huge out.
Kafusi.
They had Flegler missing as well. Saifidi. So, I mean, let's, as you always say, if you take your best players out.
You can let them, you can miss them for a week or two, Dobbo. When you get up to 3 and 4 weeks without them, and Max Plath has had surgery.
Yeah.
So he's going to be out for another at least 2 or 3 weeks.
I am worried about the Dolphins. I mean this honestly. I'm going to talk about the Chooks in a minute. But, Kev, I've seen...
What are you worried about, mate?
Well, I know they had 3 wins. They can score points. But something is not right there. The fact that they let Canberra roll through them last week after getting to an 18-6 lead.
Yep.
And then they go out, turn around, they're coming up against the Roosters side. Now, look, mind you, the Roosters are getting better and better each week.
Well, that Roosters team is not the one that the Broncos belted in round 1, is it?
No,
it's similar names,
but they've
improved.
They're coaching, they're coaching, getting coached, mate. What do you think of Robert Toya?
Oh, I love him, mate. Yeah, he's a Queensland kid too.
Yeah. Do you like him? I mean, it's way too early to talk Origin. He's been tossed up there. But what do you honestly like? He's got the makings of a brilliant centre.
What we should give Herbie Farnworth a ring and ask him about it, because that was a tough battle for both of them. Yeah. And Herbie's a good defensive centre, and he at times he troubled Herbie when Herbie's trying to tackle him. So he's got.
They also lost Sandon Smith after 16 minutes.
Yeah. Well, that was because of Herbie, and Herbie's giving him the big shove off, and he's gone
he fell backwards, hit the back of his head.
Which was a bit unlucky for him. But I thought when that happened, oh, that's it. Here we go, Dolphins. Because I want to see the Queensland teams do well, and they just snapped into gear. It took them a little bit to find their way. They moved.
Connor Watson to 6.
And
they bought.
And he just showed his versatility, didn't he?
Mate,
Docker Clay into 9.
Clay into 9. He hadn't played. He played sort of 65 minutes straight. He was very good as well. Yeah. Nafahu White, Sia Wong, Crichton.
Yeah.
They've got a very, very...
Spencer Leniu again. Yep. He was off the back fence again. Yep. So they really dominated, through the Titans' middle, which that's where they're missing their players, So until they get them back, they might struggle for the next couple of weeks, the Dolphins.
Chooks have the bye, and they go into that and have a relax. Trent Robinson doing a great job. I'm going to put it out there. They've still got Sam Walker's going to be back in 4 weeks, 3 weeks, he reckons, potentially. I think they can make the 8. I think the Roosters can make the 8. They've beaten now the Dolphins. They've beaten Brisbane. They're starting to get a move on. They beat the Panthers.
Yeah.
They've got a very, not a softer run. Mate. I just think they're getting better and better and better. And
this year, I think more so than there's no one team dominate. Normally there's one team that just skips out to a big lead, right? Which then means that they're so dominant that they knock off the teams below them and teams start falling back. But there's 6 teams on 10 points, isn't there?
It's unreal.
The ladder is really tight.
Really tight. Okay, Saturday, Super Saturday. So Friday night done and dusted, and then we look at that. Knights get a win over the Rabbits. Rabbits no Latrell. They've got an unbelievably bad injury list. Really bad.
They have, but Wayne served it up to him in his presser. He's not happy, Wayne.
Yeah.
He feels, he knows they got up to 9 NRL players missing from their lineup, right? So they got no Jack White, no Cody Walker, no Alex Johnson, no Michaela Ravalawa, no Tyrone Munro, no Cam Murray, Mitchell and Humphreys. Mitchell back from suspension this week, and Humphreys back from that injury. They're playing the Broncos at Suncorp. And Wayne will get them up, but he said that he's not happy. He said we're a better side than what we are showing. Now, they skipped out to an 18-0 lead, didn't they?
Yeah.
Which sort of rocked South a bit. And
it was quick.
The Knights have been struggling to score points, but they didn't show any of those signs against the South Sydney defence.
Fletcher Sharp turned 21. He got a hat-trick.
Yep.
You had Bradnam Best to his back. Ponga, we've been talking about Ponga, and mate, is he there? And mate, he was just like,
it was.
It's Origin
really
time.
Good. He loves that stadium.
Yeah.
And I interviewed him before the game on Fox Sports, and I said to him, I just lifted up his shirt, and I said, "You got a Queensland jersey underneath that?" Because I said you need to throw one underneath to help you play better, because the Newcastle attack has been wanting, and he's part of that. He just smiled and said, "No, we're right today, Kev. I've got enough jerseys on.
Yeah.
We'll get the job done." He was very confident, before the game. And I saw the Knights coach, Adam O'Brien, after the game. I went down into the tunnel, and he was smiling from ear to ear because they've
had some tough times.
They've had a rough month. They lost 4 in a row, hadn't they? Or 5 in a row.
Yeah, they've been struggling a bit. Next game, it was arguably one of the better games I've seen. Warriors 30, Cowboys 26. The Warriors, although it looked like the Warriors were going to win the whole way, they scored the first.
Yeah, they were comfortable.
Metcalf is just getting better and better.
Yeah,
I'd love in the halves what you think of him, and obviously Halasima as well. Who's this young buddy, absolute wrecking ball.
He's a killer.
Yeah,
and his hair as well.
He went like
he's got the blonde
kick out. He's decided to go with kick out with
the
the big rat's tail flying. Yeah.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, but Luke Metcalf, very impressive for the Warriors, and has been in the last month. He's certainly changed my opinion of his abilities and how he carries himself. On the field, he scored 2 tries, right, and then the match-saving tackle on Murray Tuilagi to win the game basically for the Warriors. So I had a question mark on their travel for them.
Yeah. So,
but they answered that question for me. On was that game Saturday? Yes, Saturday afternoon. So and North Queensland came in with good form, 4 on the trot.
Yeah.
But they're just giving away the starts, the Cowboys. They can't afford to keep doing that.
Reuben Cotter's been suspended for 2 weeks, so that makes Billy's decision whether he selects him.
Oh, he'll be in the side, mate.
You think so?
He'll be in the Queensland side, yeah. He's too good. His work around the ruck and his defensive work that he does, he just keeps going. He's like a good old motor, one of those good old motors.
What do you do with Dearden, though? Has Dearden forced his way into the 14 job over Ben Hunt?
I think Tommy will be in the 17, yeah. Whether it's at 6, you mentioned last week.
But I think Ponga showed he's the fullback. So you think Val and Hammer are the centres. Yeah, so you'd either take Munster DCE or DCE doesn't get selected.
Why don't you tell us who's your Queensland 6? Is Tommy Dearden in the Maroons lineup for game 1? Is he in the 17? Is he number 14? You tell us. Because it's a tough one for Billy.
Oh, my God.
But it's great to have those sort of selection headaches as the Queensland coach. If Tommy Dearden misses out for Queensland in game 1, I will be very surprised.
Yeah, me too. West Tigers 34, the Dragons 28. Jaden Stewart, 12-point turnaround, dropped the ball over the line.
Well, Dobbo, I want to make a bit of a statement. I've never seen anything like that in all my time in rugby league. I've seen tries bombed. And we might try and put a few up if we can. Chrissy Walker comes to mind at the Broncos. He ran the length of the field and then
went to put the ball down. Yeah, waving.
Out she comes, But for the opposition then to pick it up and run 105 metres, I've never seen that before. Someone told me it happened last year on a no try with one of the Burgess brothers for South. Someone then picked it up, but it came back and they said it was a try. So I've never seen that in my 40-odd years, 50 years in rugby league, at any level. I've never seen that before.
Unreal.
It's amazing. And I felt sorry for Jaden Stewart because he's a good player. He's been playing well for the Dragons.
Real well.
He could find himself in a Maroons jumper as well.
I think he could.
But that was a big turnaround in the game, and that was the killer, I think, for St George to win that game. It's a 12-point turnaround, which made it a bit difficult. The Tigers are sitting in the 8. They're going along okay. They're playing some good footy.
5 wins. They only got 5 wins for the whole season. They've already had 5 wins this year, so I reckon they're going better than anything.
Well, they're going good. They've recruited well. Whoever is behind the
Richo
recruiting, right? Richo, you take a bow, son, because you've recruited really well, and the Tigers they're humming. That's a good turnaround for them. For the Tigers fans must be loving it.
They're going well. Okay, let's talk to Sunday. Bulldogs 38, Titans 18.
Yep.
Fafita played out at North Ipswich. They reckon he was poor, so I don't think he's going to come back in. He had 50 run metres out there at Ipswich. He wasn't that great. I don't. Look, the Titans are my worry. They could contest for the spoon. They look absolutely a shadow of themselves.
I'm going to stick up a bit for the Titans here because they lost Tommy Weaver, HIA, gone for the game. So when you lose your 7, I know the Roosters, they lost Sandon Smith and they got on with it, but the Roosters are a different team to the Titans, right? Yeah. The Titans have been playing some good football in patches, but then they just slip away. And the only team that they're hurting is themselves.
Yeah.
If they can pick up their discipline and just stay a bit tighter for longer periods in games, because they got themselves back. They scored a couple of tries into half-time, and then straight after half-time, 3 tries in 10 minutes, against them, which just kills any hope of a win. On the positive, they've got Jaden Campbell's back next week, I believe.
Yep.
Des said that in his presser after the game.
And Foz shouldn't be too far away.
Foran back next week as well. So, and you mentioned Dave Fafita. I think they've got to put him back in there and just unleash the beast, mate. What have they got to lose? I mean, playing him in the Queensland Cup, I get what Des has done there, is trying to, he said he's got a couple of things to work on. Well, and he didn't share what those items were that he had to work on. So maybe the game time back at Queensland Cup has been good for him. I'm not sure. The Jets lost, by the way, didn't they? They got belted by the Pride. So not a good weekend for the Titans. The Bulldogs, well, question marks about them. Well, they
answered them all.
And
they had a bad week. And look, they had a bad half because the second half against the Broncos, they won 18-6.
Right.
They had a bad first half.
Just a bad 40 minutes, yeah.
And so I think they got back onto normal programming. I think they're going along.
Stephen Crichton, how good is he, mate?
He's a beast.
Yeah, he's a couple of things, classy things that he did in the game yesterday was outstanding, and he's been showing some great leadership for that club.
Certainly has. Righto, let's unpack it.
The Bronx
beaten 32 points to 8, and it could have been anything. I don't know how many tries in the second half Penrith bombed. They tore them to shreds.
It was only 1 or 2. Don't be too hard on the Bronx.
Well, mate, it could have been 40 plus, easy.
It could have got to 40. I don't doubt that.
Brisbane were dreadful.
Now, a couple of things that were big moments in the game. So the Penrith defence in that first 25 minutes.
When they're defending their line.
The Broncos couldn't find a way through. They scored 1 try from a kick. Put a bomb up, and Hundy's come through and picked it up. But apart from that, they didn't really threaten. I'm going after Billy Walters in this because he should have been a bit more creative out of the 9. I felt like he sort of let the games go.
Did you tell him?
Well, he knows now. But, sometimes, and I said this last week, as a 9, and when you got Reynolds and you got Hunt and you got all these, you got Cobbo, you got Pat Carrigan, you got Payne Haas, all calling for the ball, you forget about your own game.
Yeah.
And that's what, I felt Billy could have been a bit more creative out of 9. When it wasn't working in the other spots, have a little bit of a dabble yourself, young fella.
Yeah.
And anyway, it's not a bad thing. It's just a thing that next time that starts happening, because sometimes your big players, they don't have all the answers.
I agree.
So, it's those support players around the big guns that need to, maybe take a bit of responsibility. So, but they were good, the Broncos, for the first 20 or 30 minutes, and those couple of tries that Cleary laid on. Gee, the 40-20 into the chip over to score.
Mate.
That was amazing. And then, that was a nightmare, the next one, wasn't it?
Yeah, it really was. So
I think the whole stadium, when they saw that try,
mate, it just reminded everybody of 23.
Andrew Johns on 9 said the same thing. I said the same thing on Fox. I said, please don't show that try again.
Yeah, because that's what he does.
It's haunting me.
Yeah.
It was exactly the same, Dobbo.
And they pushed out of the line again. They did exactly the same thing. You just give him an inch and he just takes a mile.
Well, that's the thing with Cleary, and he's been a little bit off, right?
Yeah.
But it's nothing like, and I said this to Braithen Astor last night and Greg Alexander, if you're a team coming to Suncorp and you want to challenge yourself against the Broncos, it's easy to do. As a team and as an individual, coming to Suncorp and playing against the Broncos is easy to get up for.
Yeah, I agree.
Big crowd, great atmosphere, wonderful stadium. The Broncos are the big deal. They're the rock stars. They're all that. And these teams just find the motivation to come up and go, well, let's see what we got here.
No, I agree.
And the Panthers showed us, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. Michael Maguire stuffed up the interchange. He's admitted that. There was some bungle ups there.
Yeah, well, Carrigan and Haas played both of them played the full minutes.
Yeah, 2 minutes.
I thought Billy normally would get interchanged after in a tough, fast, physical game like that after about 30 minutes, but he stayed on the field. So, but he admitted that post game that he'll get it right next time. So, and there'll be a next time.
You don't think you'd be worried about Brisbane?
No, I'm not worried about Brisbane.
Mate, they've come up against 3 sides. Canberra did to them in round 2. Roosters did it, took them on in the middle, and so did the Panthers, and every time they failed. Like, I'm just being honest. They're great front runners. They can score points at a whim. But if you get into the grind with them and take them up the middle, they've shown now 4 times, even the Warriors.
Yeah, well, I could pick holes and punch holes in every team if I really tried to. Well, everyone's raving about the Storm, but they're certainly beatable. Yeah. Raiders pulled their pants down yesterday. The Raiders they've been vulnerable. I think every team at different stages, even the Bulldogs.
Yeah.
Against the Broncos just a week ago. So the Broncos have shown us, Dobbo, they can do it. Just something's holding them back. I'm not sure what it is because I'm not in there. But, yeah, it's something they need to sort out because they've got enough strike and star power there and grit and toughness to be the best team in the competition. But they're just not showing it, at the moment.
At the moment. Okay, last game, match of the round. Golden Point, 20 points to 18. It was 12-0. Storm got out to a lead. And, mate, it was 18-12 for the majority of the game.
Didn't it get to 14-0? It got to 14-0. It took a penalty goal.
Yeah, and then took a penalty goal. And then KO Week's brilliance. Unbelievable.
Oh, that was sensational.
He ties it up from 18-12, ties it up, and then obviously Golden Point. I want to get to the decisions first. I'm going to get to Canberra, but I just want to say Stefano sin-binning and Papali'i sin-binning. Did you agree with Jerry Sutton and that?
Well, I felt the game, it was just about to boil over. Like it was tensions from the start, really.
Yeah.
We had Munster and Starling. They were going a little knuckle on the side.
Yeah.
And so these big middle forwards, aggressive as they are, you need to calm them down.
Yeah.
Reminded me of my mother, Sandra. She invented the sin bin, Dobbo.
Really?
Yeah. In the backyard, the Walters brothers, Brett and Kev against Andrew, Steve and Kerrod. So the oldest and the youngest.
Saw Drewy this morning, in fact.
Yeah. In the backyard. And when we started to get a bit heated, she would say, stop. And she'd put the hose on us.
Really?
You go over there and cool down. You go and cool down for 5 minutes. It was a 5 minute sin bin.
5 minute sin bin with a hose.
When you cool down, you tell Mum, and I'll let you back in the game. And this was in the early 70s, mid 70s. So Mum invented the sin bin.
Yeah.
Obviously she didn't, but she used to do that. So sometimes players just need a little bit of cooling down. I thought it was a good decision by the referee.
Canberra are the real deal. 100%
Dobbo.
100%. They have got, and I saw a thing that you did with Denham Kemp. We said they're pack of bullies, and they are, mate. They are. I reckon it's the best pack in the comp.
If I'm up a dark alley, I don't want to be running into Raiders forwards.
No,
unless I've got
that
some
Hudson
cover.
Young. Oh my God! And what
Not
about
just him?
Matty Nicholson, Tarpanay? Zach Hoskins. That list goes on. Morgan Smithies, Papa, Uta Mariota. Like they just keep on coming. Starling, Owen Paddy. They have got a really. I mean, I don't know what their depth's like, but I love this.
Just named it up there to get them through.
Yeah.
Like, and there are one club that's sort of injury free at the moment, aren't they? Savage came back, so they're nearly full strength. Yeah. Right. The Storm need Big Nelson back. Nelson Asofa Solomon.
We thought he was going to play.
Well, he was named in the
22.
Obviously, Craig Bellamy doesn't feel like he's ready just yet. So they got a big game this week too. And the Storm. Is it Storm Bulldogs this week? No,
Bulldogs Raiders at GIO Stadium, 3 o'clock, 1v2.
So the big question mark now on the Raiders, it's not a question mark, but can they maintain that consistency week in and week out? We've still got 20 weeks to go.
Well, they've had 7 wins.
And they'll have a little dip, obviously.
I think the worrying part is their starts. Am I right? They've been chasing leads the whole time.
Yeah, well, the Storm they were red hot. And the Storm are known for fast starts. The way that far longo, that try, that kick that he put back infield.
Back into Pap.
For Pappenhausen. I mean, if that's equal to Weeks, isn't it? That was a brilliant try. And I just love the way he put the shape on the ball to kick it back infield. And the Storm got out of the blocks, but then they're ill-disciplined. And they were a bit unlucky in the end, like a couple of silly things from Trent Loera, wasn't it? So they could have easily won that game, the Storm, but they didn't. So the Raiders, the real deal for sure. And obviously the Storm are a good side as well. No Harry Grant playing for them, so he'll make a big difference. But no, we saw two of the big teams of 2025 at Suncorp, that's for sure.
Pick your grand final, 9 weeks. If you had to pick a grand final match, now I'm not going to pick a winner, who would be in your grand final?
Well, the best offensive team normally makes the grand final.
Right.
History shows that. So I'm going to put the Bulldogs in.
Yep.
I think.
Who are they playing?
Well, they've got to be playing. The form team are the Raiders, aren't they?
Yeah. I think I agree with you. I think if I had to pick a side right at the moment, 2 teams to make the grand final, I think it's the Bulldogs and the Raiders.
Yeah.
Now it might not end up like that.
So that's on this weekend.
That's on, yeah. And that's the 3 o'clock game. You'll see that live and exclusively on Fox Sports. That's a huge Saturday.
Oh, that's a big one.
That's a massive game. I'm surprised you're not on the gravy train down there, mate.
I'll be. I'll
you'll be on the panel, mate.
That game on Saturday. I'm calling a game Saturday. So
all right. So yeah.
Yeah, but that's a big game. I'll be able to watch that one at 3 o'clock. That's a huge game.
Yeah, looking forward to that one as well. Brisbane obviously take on Souths in Sydney on Friday night. That game's got a lot about it as well. Okay, we've got some questions for you, but I do want to talk about just quickly. The bunker was like non-existent. There was three sin binnings the whole weekend.
But right, and I'm going to give them a rap, but I'm also going to give the players a rap. They took some responsibility. We had Andrew Abdo on Fox on the panel, and he said, we're happy with the referees, the job they've been doing over the weekend, but they did a great job, the referees, but also the players. They just lowered their tackle technique just down a little bit, Dobbo.
Yeah.
That's all, just a small margin.
Yeah.
And there was a couple around the melon, and it was just a penalty, play on.
Yeah.
A couple of sin bins as well, but nowhere near the 18. What was there, about 5 or 6 over there?
18 sin binnings the week before. There was 4 sin binnings this week. Yeah.
Right, and 3 of those were in one game with the Bulldogs and Titans. You know? Titans got 2 in the bin, not for any foul play. It was a good weekend for the referees. The pressure was on them to bring the game back to what we want to see and what the fans want to see, and they did a great job, so well done.
Questions for Kev, and just remember as well, Wednesday we've got a massive guest coming out. This is one of the best chats. Out of all the chats we've done so far, he's my favourite.
Is he?
Yeah, I just thought his honesty was like
amazing.
But he is MAD. God, I'm pleased I didn't even run into him when he was playing football. But anyway, we'll get that. That's on Wednesday. AB, does this season finally feel like it's a more even playing field? Like anyone has a chance to win the comp at the moment?
100%. At the start, we thought it was Melbourne, Penrith, the Broncos.
Yeah. We said there was 3 teams.
Whoever else next. Well, hasn't that changed in the space of 9 weeks?
Yeah.
So the Raiders have jumped in there. The Bulldogs have jumped in there, certainly.
The Wars have jumped in there.
Like
Melbourne's there. Brisbane are there. But I reckon there's 6 teams now that can win it.
And I'm one I need to talk to myself here. Penrith. What about Penrith?
Well, they've got to win, to be fair, they've got to win 11 or 14. So the summation, I'm not saying it can't be done. But they can't avoid, and they're going to lose a lot in Origin.
They will defy history. Any team that has been coming last after 8 rounds hasn't made the finals.
Well, that'll be interesting to see.
But what are they about, Penrith? They're about breaking history and making history.
Did that. They did that yesterday. Thank you for this question. Why can't the Bronx keep the consistent football?
I think because, and this is not an excuse but it's a reason, and I said it earlier, teams love playing against the Broncos. It's been part of the club's history.
Yeah.
Teams love coming to Suncorp, or if they're hosting the Broncos in Sydney, in Canberra, in Melbourne, they love playing against the Broncos. So you have to be that little bit better. Other teams, and I don't know, I'm just speculating here. At times they might get a softer run or an easier game.
So you think they get up? Every team gets up for Brisbane.
Every team gets up for the Broncos, mate. It's a bit like the Panthers,
Yeah, but they've got to mitigate that. They've got to mitigate that.
They've got to get on top of it. 100% they have.
Now this is one question that I never from the Bear, 81, and Kevie. Is there a reward for the safe return of your eyebrows? Very valid. Very valid.
Oh, look,
Bear, thank you for that question because it's something that I've been asking myself a lot.
The ladies in makeup at Fox do a great job. They paint a few on. Maybe I should do that for the podcast as well.
Mate,
I'm not sure what happened to them. Corey Parker used to take the out of me.
They're gone.
They're gone.
Stress.
I think I got a couple of cuts on my brow.
You got a couple of stitches there. Yeah, and that took a bit of hair.
Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes they just fall out.
They do. They have. Kev, do you think there'll be changes to the Broncos side this week? And I suppose that's the big one's Ezra.
Well, we'll talk more about that on Thursday after the team's name. But I expect Ezra to be named in that 17.
Yeah.
Sure.
What about Ben Takura? Another question here. When is Ben Takura going to get a start?
Again, that's
He's not going that good in the Queensland Cup. Like,
yeah,
I've got to be
but some,
fair.
and I'm going to be fair to Ben here. Some players really excel at that level,
Yeah.
and others not so well.
Yeah. You think the step up is...
Ben will get his opportunity through Origin, you would think.
Yeah.
When Carrigan leaves and Haas, who else? Probably that's the only two for Origin in the forwards, I would say, at the moment.
Yeah.
But he'll get his opportunity through that Origin period, I would have thought, to come into the team and show us what he's got.
No Queensland team won, and our bet was...
Oh.
Mate, yeah.
Yes.
You've gone outside.
I've gone outside,
you went outside
to get some
and I tell you
exterior
what,
help.
You need to come back inside.
Well, we had a 4-leg multi, right?
Yeah.
First one was Dolphins to beat the Roosters.
Ow.
Boom. North Queensland Warriors total points over 47.5. We got that.
Yep.
That's a tick. The Bulldogs Titans. It could be the upset of the weekend, but the rain was forecast and was an under 47.5 total points scored in the game.
Nope.
We lost that one too. And Dobbo tipped the Broncos to beat Penrith.
I didn't tip them.
I tipped the Broncos.
I did tip them as well, but he tipped them as well, and
So
that
we got
didn't
one
happen
from
as well.
four.
1 from 4, so that's not good.
We're gonna have to find some help here.
I don't think you cooked last night, did you? So because of work, so I think Kev's cooking tips will be on Thursday.
Yeah.
We'll
get something for Thursday.
Family dinner
Nice
is
dish.
there.
Hey, the weather's changing.
It
so
is changing.
You need to change what you're cooking as well.
Inside Bulldog podcast, we will put some photos up. We have lots of photos. We will get some up from the Magic Round for you all to see. And there is some stories coming out of there that we will share with you at some stage.
Definitely, Dobbo. I had a brilliant weekend at Magic Weekend. We love hosting, don't we?
Yeah.
Did I read a story somewhere where there's a chance they're going to take it overseas?
Yeah, this is the thing. I think they're thinking of New Zealand, but David Christofouli, he's on NRL 360 tonight as the heavy hitter. I spoke to David Christofouli. I might even put that photo up on but I had a good chat to him. There's no chance.
There's no way this is leaving. It's perfect.
Chance.
The precinct.
Yeah.
And we've had the Nines over in New Zealand. They've been a huge success at Eden Park.
Yep.
So that would be an option. I don't think it's... I might have a bit of a think about that one. What do you guys think about...
No,
Magic?
it's staying in Brisbane. Don't even entertain it.
Get,
Where else could it go? Couldn't go to Sydney.
no,
You're not
Sydney
taking it
would-
to Melbourne.
What
You're
about...
not- where?
Adelaide's an option, Perth's an option.
Oh, stop it. We're not taking it over there. We don't like... no, it's
No, I wanted
Brisbane.
to stay here.
There's nowhere else it can go. Christofouli, you've got one job. We had a bad election result. You're the Premier. Get into it and, mate, get it done.
Righto.
Anyway, sign up forever. It cannot leave here. Cannot leave here.
We keep trucking on the show, don't we?
Yeah, we do.
Most are sleeping in and
Yeah,
had
public
the long
holiday
weekend.
in Queensland, not
Not
us.
Dobbo and Kevie.
Hey, listen.
Inside Ball is back.
Yeah, Inside Ball podcast. Go onto our Instagram. Go onto our TikTok. Darcy isn't even here. So, producer Darcy, he racked off to Noosa. Not been seen. His business partner, Klutzy, he worked all weekend. I saw him the whole weekend.
Yeah.
Not Darcy. He was up there sipping lattes and eating Bang Bang Thai in Noosa. Hey, listen, we'll be back Wednesday. You've got to tune in. We've got an unbelievable guest on Wednesday. Can't wait. And also Thursday, our preview. We've got a lot of football. Kevie, appreciate you, mate. Thank you, mate. I can't wait for Saturday. 1v2 Bulldogs versus Canberra. That is going to be an awesome match. And obviously Brisbane taking on South on Friday night down in Sydney as well. Well done to Reno. We should congratulate Reno. Took over Hazem El Masri now as the second highest point scorer.
Yep.
He's going to be on our show. He's actually committed to coming on at some point, so we need to get him.
He's chasing Cameron Smith for the all-time points scorer.
300 behind. So I think if he plays next year, you would expect that he'll get there.
What do they average, about 150 or 200 a year?
200 a year. So you'd think he'd get to Cam. So pretty unbelievable honour. That's it from us here. Inside Ball. We'll see you on Wednesday with our special guest and on Thursday for our preview.